You've probably seen celebrities chant Namu Myoho Renge. But how many actually live Nichiren Buddhism? These 10 public figures use the practice daily Daimoku to overcome trauma, find peace, and transform their lives. Let's count down the ones who are walking the path for real. Let's begin at number 10, with someone who found strength through chanting in one of the world's busiest film industries. On 10, Hansika Motwani. Hansika Motwani, a popular actress in Tamil and Telugu cinema, once said, "The best way to effectively de-stress for me is to chant Nam Myoho Renge, as I strongly follow Buddhism." She credits daily chanting with helping her stay grounded through fame, stress, and service, funding education for over 30 children. From the studios of Mumbai to the stages of Rio, let's move to someone who brings Nichiren Buddhism into the heart of her art. At number 9 is Brazilian actress Livia de Bueno, who doesn't just chant in private, she brings Nam Myoho Renge onto film sets. During a shoot on Praia do Paiva, a torrential downpour threatened the entire production. As the crew scrambled under tarps, Livia, Buddhist and descendant of the Zavante people, began to chant.
It was a day when we were shooting a really important scene, and it started to rain. A really heavy rain. Then everyone ran and we got into those little tents and stayed under the plastic, and I'm Buddhist.
At first, her co-stars laughed. Then they joined in, and within 5 minutes, the rain stopped.
Then I started chanting. Then Malcolm started chanting. Then Natalia started chanting too. I said, "Guys, imagine us with our cheeks full of air, blowing the clouds away."
Dude, did it work?
Yeah, after about 5 minutes, the rain stopped.
For Livia, chanting is clearly about effect. And from Brazil's storm-stopping conviction, we move to a human rights psychologist whose strength doesn't come from superstition, but from facing life exactly as it is. At number 8 is Dr. Anjula Mia Singh Bais, trauma psychologist, model, and chair of Amnesty International's Global Board. She began practicing Nichiren Buddhism after the sudden loss of a friend in a car crash. What moved her wasn't theory, but seeing how the girl's mother, a Buddhist, responded with calm, dignity, and inner strength. In her own words, from her YouTube channel.
So I've been practicing Nichiren Buddhism for about 6 years. I lost my friend with 4 others in a car accident at the very tender age of 21. And it was her mother who actually handled my friend's death. That had me convinced that I needed to learn more about this philosophy. I'm here to say is you are a Buddha.
To her, chanting Nam Myoho Renge isn't about belief, it's about rhythm, a mirror, and a vow to be fully present no matter the pain. For Dr. Bais, Buddhism is human revolution, spoken aloud, one breath at a time. From one psychologist facing trauma through chanting, to someone raised with Daimoku as a way of life, number 7 began chanting at 13 and never stopped changing her karma. At number 7 is Shani Jones, a second-generation practitioner who grew up chanting Nam Myoho Renge in a family of 5. At just 13, she realized that blaming others was a dead end. Chanting helped her take responsibility and shift her life from frustration to purpose. Now an artist and educator, she inspires others with the same quote that changed her. The purpose of the appearance in this world of Shakyamuni Buddha lies in his behavior as a human being. For Shani, chanting is transformation in action. While Shani turned family practice into personal purpose, number 6 used her faith to bring dignity into one of the world's most brutal industries, Hollywood. At number 6 is Vanessa Shaw, Hollywood actress known for Hocus Pocus, Eyes Wide Shut, and more. But behind the red carpet is a woman grounded in Nichiren Buddhism and an active SGI member since her youth. In a Voice of Peace interview, she explains how chanting helps her see the Buddha in herself, and even in the darkest characters she plays.
I'm really proud to be a part of the SGI, which is a value-creating society which values the Lotus Sutra, which is the teaching of the Buddha. Well, as an actor, you have the opportunity to become all kinds of people. And what I've learned with my practice of Buddhism is to see everyone in their greatest light and with the highest respect for them.
She brings that same spirit to SGI's Victory Over Violence campaign, teaching one-to-one dialogue as the key to changing society from within. From seeing the Buddha in every character to revealing her own Buddha nature through every anxious moment. Number 5 shows how chanting becomes a steady path back to yourself. At number 5 is Claudia Jessie, beloved as Eloise in Bridgerton. But beyond the Regency gowns lies a daily spiritual practice that grounds her life. Claudia began chanting Nam Myoho Renge at 17, and she says it helped her face anxiety, panic attacks, and the mental noise of fame. In an interview with Shondaland, she said, "I remember my aunt being in my bedroom, and that was it. It was game over my auntie. She just started sweeping things off shelves, and she was like, 'This is where you chant now.' And she started chanting, and she was like, 'You're joining me.' And I was crying and sobbing, and then I just sat behind her and I was like, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I ended up doing it." For Claudia, Nichiren Buddhism is a daily act of returning to her true nature. From daily peace to profound awakening, number 4 faced the emptiness behind fame and rose through chanting when there was nothing else left. At number 4 is actor, writer, and director Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaje, known for Suicide Squad, Lost, and Game of Thrones. He first encountered Nichiren Buddhism in his 20s, but didn't begin practicing until a decade later, when at the height of Hollywood success, he found himself in darkness. As he recalls in an SGI interview,
"At the height and the pinnacle of all my success, I was probably more unhappy than I'd ever been.
Adewale now shares this practice with the same determination he brings to his roles.
At that point, where I felt that there was nothing left for me to live for, I actually started chanting the words Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
Standing up, in his words, for the dignity of life. Adewale faced the void behind success. Number 3 took that same inner battle into the ring, where victory meant not just defeating opponents, but transforming herself. At number 3 is Lucia Rijker, world champion boxer, actress, and lifelong practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism from the Netherlands. In an interview with ArtEZ's Studium Generale, she shared how boxing gave her strength, but Buddhism gave her responsibility. She began chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo during a period of deep emotional pain.
In boxing, it's much stricter cause and effect. When you think negative, you get hit, boom, because you're not being present. If you have self-repeating thinking, you get hit too, or you might lose the fight just based on your inner dialogue. So it taught me self-mastery in a certain degree, and it taught me to reflect and observe my behavior. Why do I do what I do? Why does this girl want to box and get hit in the head and beat people in the head, right?
At the time, she blamed her environment for her suffering. But she says,
I found it in a time in my life where I blamed my environment for my suffering. And I was stuck in it. I was stuck in being a victim of my circumstances. And I continued to blame our circumstances because I didn't think I had a choice.
Together, they revealed that transformation begins when you stop looking outward and start facing yourself.
I'd like to say boxing is mastering movement, and so is Buddhism.
Lucia brought Buddhism into the ring, but number 2 carried it through gunfire, grief, and global fame. On the runway and in the recording studio, chanting became her way to survive and to shine. At number 2 is Naima Mora, winner of America's Next Top Model, Cycle 4, and a lifelong practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism. In her SGI USA interview, she shared that winning the show didn't bring lasting happiness.
I thought winning America's Next Top Model would lead to lasting happiness.
Fame, parties, and red carpets gave way to one of the darkest periods of her life.
But soon thereafter, I fell into a really dark and deep depression.
But she had something deeper, the Daimoku she had known since childhood.
And I found that in Nichiren Buddhism.
Through chanting, Naima found confidence, courage, and purpose.
I knew that I could win over this darkness that I was suffering through in my life.
Her dream has always been to inspire others, and now she does, through music, art, and Buddhist mentorship.
My goal and my dream has always been to really inspire people and to connect with them artistically.
From models to fighters to actors and artists, each of them overcame suffering through Daimoku. But number 1 went one step further. She made chanting her recovery, her sound, and her song. At number 1 is Belinda Carlisle,
Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth?
lead singer of the Go-Go's, global pop icon of the 80s, and a devoted practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism since the early 2000s. In an interview with Rough Draft Atlanta, she recalled turning 40, dropped by her label, unsure of who she was, and terrified of what lay ahead. That's when she picked up The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama, and everything changed. Soon after, she discovered Nichiren Buddhism, received the Gohanzon, and began chanting Myoho Renge Kyo. I couldn't escape myself or my karma. Chanting became like a mirror, showing me my life and giving me the power to change it. Through her practice, she embraced sobriety, founded a non-profit for street animals in India, and recorded Wilder Shores, an album that shares Daimoku with the world, set to music. But hold on, where's Tina Turner? We didn't forget Tina Turner. Her story is too big for a list. It needed its own tribute. Tap the video on your left for our Tina Turner mini documentary, or open the video description for the full story.